Thank you, Ava. Thank you very much for the invitation. I have recently been appointed president of the Parents Committee, and Ivan has asked me to speak about the role of the parent in the national education system in Norway. He sent me over Easter a very long list of questions, and we have tried our best to answer all of them. So we will see now if we actually have enough time to get through them all. First, I would like to say a little bit about who we are. The abbreviation FUG, that is in Norwegian. But in English, this translates to the National Parents Committee for Primary and Lower Secondary Education. We are a national committee of parents who have children in primary and secondary education. And our only qualification really for being part of the committee is that we are in fact parents. We are an organization. Our main goal is to promote home-school partnership, but we also have a role as people who give advice to the government and in different kinds of hearings that are sent out that are of national importance. We are 7 official members and 2 deputy members from all over Norway, and we also are sure to promote the interests of children with special needs, children with foreign backgrounds, and also our own Sami population. We are appointed for 4 years, and we usually have 2 day meetings every time we meet because people travel for a long way, 5 to 6 times a year. The committee is fully financed by the government. We also have a sister organization which deals with the kindergartens. They have the same kind of committee structure as we have. And we have a secretariat a secretariat section with 10 people who are more or less fully employed. Most of them serve us in the education or the parents, also with the children in school section, but some 40% approximately serve the kindergarten section. We have regular meetings. Like I said, we are also in contact with the government on an extensive level actually, and especially the Ministry of Science and Education. We have regular meetings and we are often asked to give our advice or our input in different kinds of situations. We are not elected by the parents themselves. We do not have that kind of structure. We are appointed by the king in council, and we, like I said, the office is for 4 years. There has been, I'll mention this, there has been some criticism because of the appointment versus being elected. But since we do not have that kind of structure, it would be impossible to get the kind of representation we now have if we were to be elected from the parents. Because the structure isn't there, and because we are obligated to look into the needs, the special needs that I mentioned before, it is very important that this committee is put together by someone who keeps an eye on the big picture. The education system in Norway. I was asked to give a brief overview. There are 620,000 pupils in primary schools, and as you can see, 97% of them are in public schools. So the private schools are few and far between and are of not all that much importance really. More than 66,000 teachers and 8,000 assistants in primary school, 200,000 pupils in secondary schools. I'm not sure we have the number of teachers there. But all schools are state financed, and as you can see, it is quite a lot of money that goes into education. I was asked about the involvement of parents, and I would like to talk a little bit about the importance of parents, why we should always be included. It is proven that pupils, kids who get support from their parents thrive and they get better results in school. This is regardless actually of the parents' education level itself. The fact that they are taking an interest and that they are willing to try to support their kids, even if it is just to sit with them and make sure that they actually get their homework done, even if they can't help them, this helps. The parents are also important for the children's learning environment, to promote the positive attitude to the school, a positive attitude towards other children, and a positive attitude towards cooperation in general. And parents must be encouraged to see how important they are for the children's learning. And it should be underlined that this is really regardless of the parents' educational level of themselves. We have included some English literature on the subject of the parents' role and the parents' importance. So this is just left here for you to look into later on if you would like. I assume that you will get the presentation later. We have something called the Regulation of the Education Act. And it talks about the purpose of the cooperation between school and home. The school shall ensure cooperation with the parents. The purpose of this cooperation is to keep the focus on the pupil and contribute to the academic and social development of the pupil. Good cooperation with the parents ensures the important resources that strengthens the development of good school environment and creates good results are available in the schools. This, among other things, will contribute to more teenagers completing the secondary education. It is a problem of teenagers dropping out, and this underlines the importance of the good cooperation. Furthermore, the school shall keep in contact with the parents during the school year. At the start of each school year, the school must have a parents' meeting, and twice a year the parents have the right to a planned and structured meeting with the teacher. This is to, especially the last point there, is to make sure both that the children's results are discussed, so that strong subjects can be promoted even further, and the weaker subjects can be underlined that the parents need to focus on that and help the children out. This is also, of course, the parents' chance to give their input to the teacher, if what they feel are working, what they feel are not working, how they can cooperate better. We have discussed at the school where I have my youngest son now, that to make a pool showing the parents' abilities in different areas. And the idea is to be able for the teachers to actually read into this pool and invite parents, grandparents, uncles, aunts, whatever kind of family members that the child has around them, who has a special knowledge about something. It can be tiny, it can be about fishing, or it can be about a special kind of education system. It can be about absolutely anything, but you can invite these people to come into the school and talk. And the idea is with these meetings and to get in a positive way that the parents and the home environment can contribute into the schools. This is also a point with these meetings, that the parents get to come with their input and come with their help and their contribution. Again, from the Education Act, the objectives of education and training. Education in schools and training establishments shall, in collaboration and agreement with the home, open doors to the world and give the pupils and apprentices historical and cultural insights and anchorage. What is underlined here is the collaboration and agreement with the home, which is to, like also Esther mentioned, put the the emphasis on that this is also the parents' responsibility, and the school must see that they have to also take in all the input from the parents, that this is important and it is actually the law. In addition, looking at this as a partnership to maintain the quality of education, the teachers and the parents must work and pull in the same direction. There must be a partnership, there must be cooperation, and it must be a feeling of mutual interest. The researcher John Hattie from New Zealand has been often quoted the last few years, and he says that parents have a major effect through encouragement and expectation. This has also been mentioned earlier. Again, all parents can promote their children's education. But the aim of the partnership is to encourage the pupils' development and learning. And also a Norwegian researcher named Thomas Nordahl, he emphasizes that the school must not call parents socially deprived or inferior in any way. If the strive for a successful partnership should in fact be successful. To diminish the parents' importance is detrimental. It should really absolutely not be done at any level. There is also a British researcher called Charles Ford. He talks about good parenting at home, and that's where the parents can make the biggest contribution. Again, take an interest, to help out at any possible way. Parents are important for creating a good environment for learning and well-being. I asked Gro about these pictures. What do these represent? Because they didn't really make sense to me. But the fact is that very often parents, when they try to do what's best for their children in the school, it is about making social arenas, about making, you have Christmas parties, you have end of the year parties, you have all these things going on, and the parents, they are making obscene amounts of coffee and waffle mix and whatnot to make sure that everyone can enjoy themselves. But what they should maybe put more emphasis on is actually to make sure that the children learn something, and how they learn it and what they learn. A little bit about the parents' organizations. They exist on several levels. The most important ones are the local parents' organizations. This comes from section 11.4 of the Education Act. The Parents' Council at primary and lower secondary schools. The reason why the upper secondary schools are not included is, of course, that a lot of the children turn 18 and there is no longer, at least under the law, a necessity for such a Parents' Council. Some of the upper secondary schools try to have one, and it has been discussed if at least it should be the law to have one, even if you can, of course, not force the parents to participate. But for now, it is only the primary and lower secondary education. But at each of these schools, there must be a Parents' Council, and by default, everyone is a member as long as you have a child at the school. That doesn't mean that you have to do anything or contribute anything if you don't feel that you have anything to contribute. But that means that you must be heard if you have something to say. The Parents' Council are all about promoting the parents' interests and, of course, help to ensure that pupils and parents take an active part in working to create a satisfactory school environment. They often, like I said, end up doing all these more social things, social benefits, collecting money for interesting travels and whatnot. But the real point of these is to promote the home and school cooperation, to make sure that parents feel heard, that they are part of decision-making processes where it is logical that they should participate, Anything that has to do with, of course, work, hiring of teachers and whatnot, that is not where the parents should be involved. But in how the school is run, how the school is organized, is definitely something that the parents should be involved in. In addition, there are other committees. There's one so-called executive committee, where there will be 2 representatives, and the chairperson of the executive committee should be one of the ones from the Parents' Council. In addition, in this committee there will be a local politician, the children, the pupils will also be involved, there will be people working at the school, and the principal will be present as a secretary, just to take minutes of meeting to make sure that this is documented. In addition to this, there's also a school environment committee, and here the Pupils' Council and the Parents' Council have the majority together. In some municipalities, there's also a local Parents' Council where 2 members from each of the schools send their representatives. This, in some municipalities, I think approximately 1/3 of the Norwegian municipalities have this. Often they are dormant for a while, and then they resurrect if there's a discussion about schools closing or being changed in such a way that people start to actually take an interest out of the ordinary. Some are very well organized and function always and have a good way of working. I think Oslo is one of them. But the smaller municipalities where there are great distances to travel, etc., don't really work that well. I was also asked by Ivar about the rights of the pupils and the parents. And I took note of what Esther said about this trust in the state. Because we really do that. We all participate, all contribute, and everyone expects something back. And usually we get back what we expect to get. If it's school, if it's hospitals, if it's the fire department, whatever, we get back what we expect to get back. Again, we come back to the Education Act. The general requirements of the Education Act says that all pupils attending primary and secondary schools are entitled to a good physical and psychosocial environment conducive to the health, well-being and learning. This is often discussed because in cases where there's bullying, for instance, this sorts under this. You cannot have a healthy learning environment if you're bullied and you're afraid to go to school. So this is often discussed and is often what we are contacted about, people who feel that they have problems in school and they have contacted the principal and they're not really getting the help that they feel that they should have. And like I said, we trust, and if we don't get back what we expect to get, that's when people start to look for other solutions. And that's when our organization often gets involved at some point. But if we look at key factors to reduce bullying, research states these 4 factors: good classroom leadership, good relationship and cooperation between home and school, good relations between pupils and teachers, and good organization of leadership of the school. In addition, we, with our experience, would like to add that good role models are important and hard work every day from all adults. We all have to take this responsibility not to allow any bullying or any pupils to shut out fellow pupils. We have recently been asked to look into that there will be changes to the teachers' education in Norway. It will be turned into at least as an option, a master program, 5 years. And we have been asked to comment on the curriculum and how this, all the goals and all that they want to achieve with this new program. And there we came back with emphasizing on this with good classroom leadership and all of these things listed here, because they were not really mentioned all that well in the document that we received. And we know all these things are important. So this is something that at least, if teachers don't really work with this yet, at least future teachers should have learned this when they are in their education. We see that the law is not always followed. It is our experience that the schools don't always have the competence to fulfill the law. They might even have good intentions, but if they do not have the competence and, or at least the will to get this competence, they will not work with the students all that well. The parents have the right to complain, first to the school, then further they can go to a municipality level, and then in the end to the state. And it is, if people feel that they have exhausted all these resources, that's often when we are contacted. Because sometimes you get off on the wrong foot and it just seems not to be able to get the whole issue back on track. I would like to say a few words about inclusive education. Again, back to the Education Act, Section 1.3, adapted education. Education shall be adapted to the abilities and aptitudes of the individual pupil, apprentice, and training candidate. This is a section that has been in the Education Act for more than 40 years. And up until very recently, this has been interpreted as being emphasizing to promote the education for the weak pupils, the ones who are not able to follow the normal education that most students can follow. But recently there has been more and more talk about gifted children, that this actually also includes them, and that this is important to remember, because the ones who feel that they are not suitably challenged in school, they might also end up as school dropouts, even if they were the ones who had the highest potential to begin with. So to lose out on the really, really good students because they have never experienced being challenged and getting actually the kind of schooling that they needed from the beginning. If you come to the school and you have been reading on your own for 2 years and you need to spend the first year learning the letters, what does that do for your feeling of enjoying your school day? So this is something that is now a big topic, and there is a committee that has now been working for half a year and will finish their work in fall, who will look into this. How can we see and adapt the education also for these children without this being something that is like beside the normal education? It should be included, but how do we do that? So this will be very, very interesting to see what this committee comes up with. Special education, that is regulated in the Education Act, of course, in Section 5.1, the right to special education. Pupils who either do not get or are unable to satisfactorily benefit from ordinary teaching have the right to special education. And it is also, furthermore, as far as possible, the special education that is provided shall be planned in collaboration with the pupil and the pupil's parents, and considerable emphasis shall be placed on their views. Again, here you see that the parents are invited or expected to take part in the planning of this, and to be helpful to their children, even if it's a special education kind of situation. This is also a right that some people struggle with and that they contact us about. Because, again, of course, having these children assessed and to plan the special education, you need then people who has special training, special pedagogues. You need to maybe have extra personnel available, and many municipalities hope to avoid this, of course, because it costs extra. So many have to struggle to get what they have right for. What we see, I've asked what are the main challenges, and what we see is that school dropout is a very, very big problem. And like I mentioned, that can also happen to the ones who actually have the biggest potential. There are many reasons and there are many solutions. But it could be, of course, bullying, but also low learning outcomes, and that can have all kinds of reasons, really. But they can also be psychological problems, and it could be like Rasmus, who had divorced parents and who came into the wrong company. The role of the parents in this. All parents can be of help to their children by supporting and motivating the learner, working against bullying and being a good role model for the children, and work together with the school and the healthcare system. We always come back to the part where the parents have to work with the school, and the schools have to work with the parents. Final slide, actually. We must live together. It has to be a cooperation. It is the responsibility of everyone.